Chapter 20, The Boniface Estate. Mrs. Frisby said, "Jonathan and Mr. H has got the screen open." "Yes," Nicodemus said, "and without them I doubt that we could have done it. The steel frame was strong, the bolt was secure, and the wire so stiff we could not have been it enough for one of us to go through. So we were glad they were with us and asked them if they would, after all, like to stay with us. Since there were only two of them, they said they would, for the time being at least." And now began a journey that was to last with some interruptions for almost 2 years. Parts of it were pleasant. It was a joyful feeling at first to be free again and to get those laboratory collars off, and parts of it were terrible. I have made notes about all of it, and if the time ever comes when rats publish books of their own, I intend to write a book about it. It would be a long book full of trouble and danger, too much to tell now. It was one of the dangerous times that I lost my eye and got the scar you can see on my face. But we did have some happy times and some pieces of great luck, too particular, that helped to explain how we got here and what our plans are now. It was early summer when we got out. We had known that beforehand. We could tell by the lateness of the light through the windows, though it was dark when we finally stood on the roof. We had no trouble getting down the side of the building, however. There were downspouts in the corners with plenty of toe holds. We dropped the screwdriver and spool of thread into one of these. A little lower there was ivy, and we were all good climbers. There was moonlight to see by. In less than 15 minutes we were on the ground. Staying in the darkest shadows under the bushes when we could, we sped away from NIMH, not knowing or caring at first which direction we were going. Nobody saw us. During the next few weeks we lived as we could. We had, in a way, to learn all over again how to get along. For although the world outside the laboratory was the same, we ourselves were different. We were a couple of times reduced to eating from dumps and garbage cans. But knowing how to read, we quickly learned to recognize signs on buildings, groceries, supermarket, meats and vegetables, for instance. Let us always know that there was food inside for the taking. And once inside a supermarket at night, they always leave a few lights on. We could even read the signs on the wall directing us to Section 8 for dairy products, cheese, Section 3 for baked goods, and so on. In the country there were barns and silos stocked with grain and corn, and chicken houses full of eggs. Occasionally we came upon other rats, and a few times we talked with them, but not for long, because after just a few words they would begin to look at us strangely and edge away. Somehow they could tell we were different. I think we even looked different. Either the diet or injections at NIMH had made us bigger and stronger than other rats, and all the strange rats we saw looked to us surprisingly weak and puny. So we were set apart from even our own kind. It was while we were in the country that we had our first important stroke of luck. We had just decided, after nearly 4 months of freedom and constant roving, to find a place to settle down, if not permanently, at least for the winter. We thought it should be in the country, not too far from a town, so that we would have access to grocery stores as well as barns and gardens. It was about this time, too, that I began to wonder and worry somewhat about the fact that whatever we ate, whatever we needed, must always be stolen. Rats always lived that way. And yet why? I talked to some of the others about this. It was the beginning of the discontent, an idea that kept growing, although slowly. The season was autumn. We were walking one evening down a winding country road. We never walked really on the road, but along the edge, so that we could vanish into the bushes or a ditch if anyone came along. You can imagine that with 20 rats and 2 mice traveling in procession, it would cause some comment, and we did not want that. As we walked, we reached a very high fence of wrought iron, the kind that looks like a row of black iron spears fastened together, with pointed tops, an expensive fence surrounding a large estate with a big, expensive-looking house in the middle, and well-kept grounds and gardens. We walked along past this fence until we reached a gate. "There's nobody living in there," said Justin. "How do you know?" "The gate's padlocked, and look, dead weeds are standing outside of it, not even bent. Nobody's driven here for a while." The house had a quiet, deserted look. There was a letter box in front, hanging, open, empty. "I wonder if we could get in," Jenner said. "Why should we? It's a big place. It would have a big pantry, big cupboard, big freezer. If it's as empty as it looks..." We turned around the grounds, moving cautiously, and from beneath some bushes we watched the windows. As dusk fell, lights came on in several